Having your own opinion isn't all that bad, even though the things you think and say might make others get quite mad. Some people might get angry at the things you say. They just don't see the things you care for in the same way. But even if you disagree, let me put your mind at rest. To share your thoughts and points of view really is the best, because sometimes it is really good to get these things off your chest. Is there something you want to say? Do you have something to get off your chest? Well, now is the time to do it, because it's Sunday afternoon here in the UK. It's 2 o'clock, and this is Live English. January, sick and tired of you hanging around me. Oh, hello there. Wow, here we go again. It is Sunday afternoon, and this is Live English. Hello there. Hi everybody. It's Mr. Duncan. That's me in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you happy? I really hope so. Unlike the government buildings in the USA, I am not closed. I am fully open today. Open just for you, live across the World Wide Web. It's the 21st of January. Already we are coming towards the end of January. By the way, Happy New Year! So here we go. It's Live English all the way. And of course, we can't start the live stream without mentioning the live chat. Oh, look! So many people are here already. Oh, thank you very much for joining me today. So many people already joining me on the live chat. Hello, Midya. Hello, Ahmed. Hello, Antonella. Hello to Saika. And also to Belarusi is here. Hello, Belarusi. I know that you are a very big fan of mine. Alamgir is also here. Lots of people already joining me on the live chat. I have a strange feeling today is going to be a very busy one. Mr. Duncan, says Sonia, what is wrong with your hair? Well, yes, my hair does look a little strange today. You are right. All will be explained in a moment. Pedro is here. Also Tomek. Hi there, how are you? I've missed the last two of your live streams. I was so bummed out. If you are bummed out, it means you are really disappointed. You feel very deflated about something. Also, Ekaterina is here watching in Jordan. Hello to you, and also to Walid and Mohammed Saad, and finally hello from Bond Street Debenhams from Esonal Man. I'm just wondering, do the people at Bond Street Debenhams, do they mind you watching my live stream? I'm sure they don't. So it is Sunday, it is the 21st of January, and can you believe a year ago we were talking all about Donald Trump. In fact, it was last January on the 20th. Of course, it was the day when Donald Trump became the president of the USA. So here we are 1 year later. And there I was last year. And that is why my hair looks strange today. Fast forward 1 year, and here we are today, live as live can be. Do you like my Donald Trump hair? I think it really does suit me. In fact, I might keep it like this all the time because I think it looks rather nice. I look like a teenager. So here we go, lots of people on the live chat, and of course we can't have the live stream without asking, you know what's coming next. What was the view like this morning? Well, let me just tell you now, we had some snow yesterday and also we had some snow this morning. Look at that. So there it is, the view from my window this morning. We had some snow. Yes, more snow. Can you believe it? Just a few weeks ago we had lots and lots of snow, and the snow has returned. Although, to be honest, the snow is already going. It's already melting. So I don't think this particular snow is going to stay for very long. So there it is, the view this morning. And we will be going outside into the snow. Not live, but yesterday, Mr. Steve and I, we both had a lovely Saturday walk in the snow, and you will see that a little bit later on today. So please don't go away. Stay exactly where you are, because there are lots of things coming today. We have questions, of course. Today's questions. Do you ever buy a newspaper? Do you ever buy or read a newspaper? And where do you normally get your news from? So when you read the news or listen to the news, or maybe you do both, do you ever buy a newspaper? So many people these days tend to get their news from the internet. Sometimes the news is very reliable, but sometimes the news is not very reliable. Sometimes the news can be inaccurate. Oh, I love that word. Inaccurate. If something is inaccurate, it means it is wrong. It is being done mistakenly. It is inaccurate. Ooh. So, do you ever read a newspaper? It would appear that nowadays, because of the internet, fewer and fewer people are reading newspapers. So many newspapers are now suffering because many people are getting their news from this particular place, the internet. Would you like to play a very quick game? Would you like to play a very, very quick game? Okay, it's time now to play Spot the Horse. Can you see the horse? Can you spot the horse? This is a very quick game. Can you see the horse? Oh, there it is. Yes, we can all spot the horse. So there it was. That was a very quick game. The horse is gone now. I hope you enjoyed that. A very unusual sight from my window this morning. There was a horse running around on its own. Of course, winter is here at the moment. I don't like winter very much. I don't like it when it's wet, when it rains. I don't mind the snow. The snow is okay, but I don't like it when it's cold and raining. I hate it so much. But there is some good news, because in my garden this week I noticed that there it is. The first signs of spring have appeared. Oh, can you see what is coming up in my garden? Yes, this week I noticed that the spring flowers are already coming up. So there you can see some daffodils starting to grow in the garden. And I always get very excited when this happens, because, do you know why? Because it means that spring is on the way. So because I don't really like winter very much. I don't mind the snow. The snow is okay, but to be honest with you, I always feel very excited when spring starts to arrive. And there you can see some lovely snowdrops. Can you see the snowdrops? Very beautiful flowers. So at the moment, there are lots of spring flowers beginning to come up. So I feel rather excited about that, to be honest. And of course, one of my most favourite times of the year is spring. However, we are still in the throes of winter. Sadly, winter is still here. We had some snow yesterday, and also we had some snow this morning as well. But the good news is that the spring flowers are already starting to emerge. Oh, there's another nice word. Emerge. If something emerges, it starts to appear. It emerges. Ooh, lovely. Some lovely, lovely, lovely words. Coming up later on, we have Mr. Steve, of course. Thank you very much for all those who said they enjoyed watching Mr. Steve doing his exercises. Well, for those who like that, for those who enjoyed it, here it is again. Yeah. So Mr. Steve coming today, and we're doing something a little bit different. Now, I'm not sure if we are going to actually do this, but it's something we have planned for the final half hour today. Now, of course, there are many people on YouTube doing all sorts of things. There are people talking about movies, there are people who are talking about computer games, and there are people who are talking about makeup. When we talk about makeup, we mean cosmetics. So cosmetics, makeup, the way people appear. And one of the questions today will be about the way you look. Now, as we get older, it's true, as we get older, because we all do, we all get older eventually. Some faster than others. I will today hopefully be having a makeover. Now, this is something that Mr. Steve mentioned the other week. Not here, but away from the live stream. Mr. Steve says, "Here, Duncan, you know sometimes you appear on camera. Have you ever thought about wearing some makeup when you do the live stream?" Now, of course, these days, both men and women wear makeup, especially when they appear on television or in movies. So even men have a little bit of makeup on their face. So what do you think? Do you think I should have a makeover in the last half hour? I will let you decide. So Mr. Steve has offered very kindly I don't know how well this is going to go. I have a feeling it's going to be a big disaster. But Mr. Steve wants to give me a makeover today. Apparently, because he does acting from time to time, he likes to appear on the stage and perform. He sometimes wears a little bit of makeup on his face. So he's decided to give me a makeover. Would you like to see that later? Because we are going to do it live. It isn't recorded. It will be live during the last half hour of the show. So would you like to see that? We're not doing it yet. I have to save at least some of my dignity. Some of it. So today we have questions. Do you buy a newspaper? Apparently fewer and fewer people are buying newspapers. And another one, because another question here. Now this is an interesting question because here in the UK we are about to decide whether or not we should ban parents smacking their children. So should we be able to hit or smack our children when they are naughty? Is it okay for a parent to hit their child? Now, I remember years ago, it was a common sight to see parents, especially in supermarkets, when the child was getting very angry and having a tantrum, like that, and the parent would slap the child, So sometimes they would slap them on their body, or if it was a girl, or maybe a boy in shorts, they would slap his legs. So the child would be punished in the shop in front of everyone. And quite often the child would cry even more. So it didn't stop the child from having a tantrum. It carried on doing it. So do you think it's a good idea? Because I know in some places people still think that the child should have a little smack now and again. I remember when I was in China, I was teaching some very young children in kindergarten, and the parents were there, and one of the young children couldn't remember something that I'd said to them. They couldn't remember the words. And the parent, I still can't believe this, the parent went over to the child and hit the child so hard, and then the child started crying, and it was horrible. And please bear in mind that the child was only around 4 years old, and I felt terrible because I felt responsible. So because the child couldn't recite the things I'd said to her, the parent got very angry and started to beat the child. I felt really, really upset, and it's something I always remember very, very strongly when I think about my time, especially teaching very young children, because sometimes the parents were very impatient. And this is something you might be aware of in China. Some Chinese parents, they really do force their children to learn things almost aggressively. So yes, I did feel very sad about that. Lots of other things coming today. We're going to have a lesson about news. Where do you get your news from? Do you ever buy a newspaper? 1 or 2 people are already talking on the live chat. Let's have another look at the live chat, shall we? Here we go. Eugene thinks hitting children is a type of cruelty. People should talk to their children and explain a situation to them, just like normal humans. Bella thinks that is so sad. Oh, what is sad? Do you mean my story about when I was in China? Yes, I think so. So some people think that smacking or punishing your child by hitting them is wrong. Belarusia says, my mother buys the newspaper every day, and when I visit her, I always like to read the headlines. Of course, headlines are the main stories. So normally on the front of a newspaper, you will see the headlines, the main stories. Hamster Productions says we are reading news on the internet, and I think maybe you are not unusual there, because a lot of people now do that. Many people now tend to get their news from the internet. Of course, the danger of that is that sometimes the news that is reported over the internet can be inaccurate. Ugh. Maria says, oh, I love the way you speak English, Mr. Duncan. Thank you very much. I've been practicing all my life to speak English, so I hope it is okay. Tetsuya is here. I think that beating a child will have the opposite effect in the end. Yes, I think so. So maybe if you punish the child too harshly, it can actually have the opposite effect. Why is your hair brown? Oh, if your hair was brown, it would look better Do you think so? This is my Donald Trump hair, because of course it's 1 year since Donald Trump became the president, and there I am 1 year ago doing my special live stream way back 1 year ago yesterday. Yes, true. And I stayed on for 3 hours. I remember that very well. And here we are 1 year later, and we are all still here. Hooray to that. We have the mystery idioms. We also have the mystery object today. I have something here in a plastic bag. But what is it? So the mystery object. If I remember, I will show you the mystery object later on. Also, we have the mystery idioms as well. Would you like to see today's mystery idioms? Now, they are a little different today because they aren't pictures. They are actually video clips. It's something a little different. So today, we are going to show some video clips as part of our mystery idioms. And here they come right now. So here is the first mystery idiom. But what is it? What is the mystery idiom? And here is the second mystery idiom. So there they are, 2 mystery idioms, but what are they? And of course they are a little different today because they are video clips. Normally they are pictures. And here is the first one again. So there they are, the mystery idioms. But the question is, what are they? Don't worry, I will give you the answers towards the end of today's live stream. Don't forget, I am with you until 4 o'clock UK time. In the first hour, we have lots of different things. And in the second hour, after 3 o'clock, of course, it's Mr. Steve. And today we will be talking about something very dramatic. Something very dramatic happened to Mr. Steve during the week. We will be talking all about that and showing you some photographs relating to the very dramatic thing that happened to Mr. Steve during the week. All I'm going to say is that it involves his car. That's all I'm saying for now. Now, yesterday we went out for a lovely walk. Would you like to see Mr. Steve and myself? And this is something we did yesterday during the heavy snow. Lots of things yesterday going on, but Mr. Steve and myself, we went into town, we had something to eat, and then on the way back home we decided to play a little game, and the game is called What's Inside Mr. Steve's Bag? Do 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 do. It's a Saturday afternoon and I cannot see a thing. Oh my goodness, look how misty it is. And can you see? It has been snowing. And of course, it isn't just me here at the moment. It is also Mr. Steve. But where is he? Where is Mr. Steve? There is Mr. Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hello.
Are you okay?
I'm very well, thank you, Mr. Duncan. Apart from it being a little misty, and it's been snowing quite heavily, hasn't it? But it's, as you can see, but it's gone now. It's just we're left with low cloud, mist, low cloud, so it's very atmospheric, as they say.
Yes, the view is incredible. I mean, look how misty and murky everything looks. It looks like something from a horror movie. It looks like something from a very creepy film. I keep expecting something to come out of the mist and jump on us. Mr. Steve was just doing a very creepy face. Let's have a look. Oh my goodness. It's it's horrible.
Thank you.
Kill it with fire.
We've just had our Saturday meal, haven't we? Chicken today.
Oh.
We're full up, and we were going to go straight home because it was so cold. Mr. Duncan wanted to do some filming, but it was so cold. He said, I'm going to go straight back home. But then we stopped here. It's very calm, very still. And we thought we'd show you what we'd bought in town.
Yes, we're going to play a new game called What's in Mr. Steve's Bag? So there is the bag. Can you see the bag? There it is. Mr. Steve has it firmly grasped in his hand. He's going to show us now what is in the bag, because we have something very lovely to show you. So come on, Mr. Steve, please tell us what is in your bag.
Well, last week, of course, it was the bread, which is in the rucksack there. So this is something we can eat later on in the week. Look at that. It's a frozen pizza. A pizza. In this case, 4 cheese with a stuffed crust. And £3 that cost, as you can see. So we'll get that in the freezer when we get back home. And then we'll have it with some baked beans as a quick meal, one of the days during next week.
Of course, there is one thing that everyone is going to say. They are all going to say, Mr. Duncan, Mr. Steve, that is a very unhealthy meal because it contains lots of fat and bad things.
Well, let's have a look. Let's have a look at the fat content. Per half a pizza, 26 grams. That's not bad, actually. That's not bad for a pizza. It's quite a healthy one, this one. But delicious. We will have that in the week with some baked beans, and I shall put some curry flavour in the beans because I like curry flavoured beans. And when I'm going out, that'll be a 10-minute meal in the oven on the table, and I'm out. So that's the pizza.
I must admit, this is a very surreal moment of time because we're standing here on a very, very cold and dismal day. It was snowing this morning. We actually had quite a lot of snow, and I must admit I'm quite surprised by the amount of snow that's fallen. And now, look, you can see that it is very misty, very murky today. So it's Saturday at the moment, so this particular section you are watching now isn't live, but don't worry, we will be going live to the studio in a few moments. But Mr. Steve has something else in the bag. Oh, so what do you have now, Mr. Steve?
Well, we've just had unhealthy pizza, and now we've got unhealthy chocolate. Pizza with chocolate for dessert. There we go. So we're carrying on the healthy theme for one day this week. Actually, there's another one in here. So there's 3 bars of chocolate in here. But all is not lost. That's very bad for your teeth. So I've bought some toothpaste as well, just to clean my teeth afterwards. And this is a snip at only £1 for this excellent toothpaste.
So that's a tube of toothpaste. Show it us again. So we have the unhealthy food, we have the chocolate, and then afterwards we can clean all of the junk food from between our teeth with this tube of toothpaste. So how much was that, Steve?
I think I just said it was £1. There we go.
Just £1.
Which is, for us, that's very cheap.
That's amazing. That's so cheap. So is there anything else in there?
That's it. If we're here for much longer, this pizza's frozen. I'm going to have to put it in the snow to keep it cold.
I have a strange feeling that the pizza is not going to thaw out. But look at the view. Isn't that beautiful? It feels so. It's almost slightly sinister because it's murky. It's very, very damp. And of course, we had lots of snow this morning. I must admit, I was slightly surprised, just as Steve was, weren't you? You were very surprised this morning when you opened the curtains and you saw all of the snow falling.
Yes, I hope it doesn't last, because had a bit of a drama this week, which we will reveal.
Yes, we're going to talk about Mr. Steve's very dramatic moment this week. Something quite terrible happened whilst Mr. Steve was driving during the week. Can you believe it? So it did actually happen, and it happened to Mr. Steve, and he will be recalling the story, the whole story of his dramatic moment on the road a little bit later on. But now I think we will go back to the studio, because I don't know about you, Steve, but I am absolutely freezing cold.
So am I, but I'm not as cold as I would be because I've got long johns on under my trousers.
Ah, long johns. Now, long johns are very useful because you can wear them under your trousers. I think Mr. Steve is going to show us.
There we go. I'm trying to show you. There we go. Oh, my calves. I've got big calves. They're my long johns underneath my trousers.
So there's Steve showing off about his sexy legs again. But yes, Mr. Steve is wearing an extra layer of material under his trousers, and we call them long johns.
But Mr. Duncan hasn't got his on, so
they can't hear you, Steve.
All right.
Wait there a minute. I have to point the microphone towards you. Here we go.
Mr. Duncan hasn't got his long johns on, so he's cold.
Yes, I'm freezing. I'm actually freezing cold because I only have my jeans on, but nothing underneath.
I'm really hot. I'm absolutely boiling hot. I need to take some layers off.
So now Steve is just showing off. So we'll go back to the studio now. We'll join Mr. Duncan, and a little bit later on, you will be live as well, won't you, Steve?
I will be, yes, live as live can be, as live as you can be, which is as live as anyone, really.
And that is pretty live. So we'll see you in a bit, Mr. Steve. Don't forget, Mr. Steve will be live today at 3 o'clock. So now we will rejoin Mr. Duncan, that's me, in the studio. Dibby dibby doop doo doo doo. Yeah, we are live once again on a Sunday afternoon. It is me, Mr. Duncan, and coming up at 3 o'clock, don't forget, Mr. Steve will be here live. He was there, just recorded yesterday, and of course Mr. Steve will be telling you all about his very dramatic moment. Something so dramatic happened to Mr. Steve in his car. It was like something from a movie, let's just say, but very dramatic indeed. We have the mystery idioms. I will show you them once again very quickly. So there is the first one. Quite a few people guessing this and one or two getting it right. Someone said the grass is always greener on the other side. It isn't that, but that's a very good guess. And there is the other mystery idiom. I think this one is very easy, by the way. And the first one once again, if you think you know what they are, let us know. And the answers, of course, will be coming later on. Another question to ask: do you ever feel lonely? Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because here in the UK, the government here have just decided to have someone appointed in charge of loneliness. There is actually now a government minister for loneliness. So apparently many people do suffer from loneliness. They feel alone, they never see anyone, they sit alone all day and sleep alone, they never talk to anyone. So apparently loneliness is a very big problem. One of the reasons, certainly in this country, is because many people now are living longer. And what tends to happen when you get older, many of your friends will pass away, they will die, and then you might be left alone. So apparently loneliness is a very big problem now here in the UK. In fact, it's such a big problem, they have a minister now in the government who is overseeing the problem of loneliness. So do you ever feel lonely? Do you ever buy a newspaper? That is another question. And do you ever hit your children, or do you think it's okay for a parent to hit their child? What do you think? I've had a message come through on the live chat, because the live chat is very busy today, I must point out. And there is a message from, if my camera will show me, from Tarion. Tarion Marsden says, parents in America are divided on the issue of smacking their child. Some say that smacking children is wrong and abusive. Others say that children need to be punished for wrongdoing. So yes, I think this is a very polarizing topic. Some people think that you should be very strict with your children. You should punish them when they do something wrong. Whereas other people think that maybe just talking to your child. So instead of beating the child, you just talk to them. You just ask them what the problem is. You talk to them as if they are an adult. Talking of news, we have a lesson coming up in a moment that I made all about news. And then after 3 o'clock, Mr. Steve is here. We are talking about lots of things. Also, we have Shakespeare on Sunday. Do you remember last week Mr. Steve read an extract from Shakespeare? And today we'll be having another one, because apparently lots of people like listening to Mr. Steve reciting Shakespeare. So we will have another Shakespeare on Sunday coming up very soon. We are talking news, of course. After the first year of Donald Trump being in charge, the phrase fake news became very popular indeed. And here is a lesson all about news reporting that I made way back in 2008.
This is DNN News. Your newsreader is Dick Sharp.
In today's news, famous actress gives birth after sneezing. Man in Leeds misses his bus and is 20 minutes late for work. Online English teacher Mr. Duncan buys himself a new pair of socks. We have exclusive pictures. All those stories, plus sport with Trevor Fast and much, much more, right here on DNN News. Don't go away! Hi everybody, this is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you happy? I hope so. In this lesson, we will look at words and situations related to the world of news. It's news! It's news! The word news relates to any event or information that is reported within a short time of it happening, or information that was previously unknown. The word itself originates from Middle English and is the plural of the word new. There are many words related to news, such as announcement, bulletin, communique, dispatch, notice, report, reportage, and statement. That's interesting. There are many ways of receiving or finding out news. We can read it in a newspaper. We can hear it on the radio. We can watch it on the television. We can search for it on the internet. We can receive it on our mobile phones. Sometimes another person may tell us it. When this happens, we describe it as word of mouth.
Sometimes we hear news that may be inaccurate or not true. In this situation, we call it gossip, rumour, speculation, or tittle-tattle.
Coming up next on DNN, entertainment news. We have an exclusive interview with up-and-coming rap star T-Bag. That's unbelievable. When we read a newspaper, the most important or newest stories will appear on the front page. When we watch the television news, the most important stories will be the first to be read out. These are called the headlines or the top stories. When a television or radio news report is given, we normally call this a news bulletin. The information about each story is given in short and easy to follow sentences over a period of a few minutes. The average news bulletin takes around 15 minutes to be given. A person who reads the news on TV or radio is called a news anchor, newscaster, news host, or news reader. Needless to say, news covers many subjects, including economics, politics, social issues, technology, entertainment, and sport. It would be true to say that not all the new events that occur can be reported, and because of this, they are usually chosen depending on their importance and overall effect. Come on over here, give us a smile for our readers. That's it, come on, stay there. Okay, one more. Yeah, thanks a lot. The industry that collects and distributes all the news stories around the world is called the media. This word relates to the fact that the person giving the news is in the middle of the process. It is also worth noting that the word media can be used both as a singular and a plural noun. People who collect the news are called journalists, and if they work for a newspaper, they can also be called a press reporter. Oh no, another grey hair! When an event or news story happens suddenly, then we call it breaking news or developing news. This means that not all the details of the story are yet known. A good example of this situation would be the moments following the first attack on New York's World Trade Center in 2001. When breaking news happens, it is given priority above all other stories until more details are known. thanks to new technology, we can now get all the news we need 24 hours a day via satellite and cable TV stations. This type of service is called rolling news. The current events being reported are shown as text, moving along the bottom of the screen. Like this. Oh. Hello, Mr. Cameraman. I need my cameraman. Where is he? I need to make it higher. What? He's gone for his supper? Oh, that's no good. Okay, I'll do it myself. This new way of receiving news means that the different channels must compete with each other for viewers. Some people believe that this has caused a change in the way news is reported. They accuse news channels of worrying more about their ratings than the actual news they are reporting. Despite this feeling, it seems now more than ever before there is a real need to be kept up to date and informed on what is happening in this ever-changing world of ours. There is an expression in English that goes, "No news is good news." This means that sometimes hearing nothing about a situation is better than the possibility of receiving bad news. Before I finish my lesson today, I would like to say a special hello to my new friends watching in Brazil, Chile, Ethiopia, Germany, Israel, Japan, Mexico, the Philippines and Puerto Rico. This is Mr. Duncan in England, wishing you well and signing off. Ta-ta for now. And there it was, a lesson made, can you believe, 10 years ago. Yes, I've been on YouTube for many, many years. In fact, 2018 is my 12th year right here on YouTube. The live chat is very busy today. Thank you very much. So many people getting involved today. Let's have a quick look, shall we? The paparazzi. What is the paparazzi? The paparazzi are the reporters that are normally very hungry for news stories, and they tend to follow people around. They tend to stalk people. Of course, the very famous incident involving Princess Diana in 1997, the paparazzi were blamed for that, for the death of Princess Diana. I really appreciate what you do for us. Thank you very much, Julie, and also a big thanks to you and Mr. Steve. Oh, thank you very much, Julie. That's very kind. Lagel says smacking children isn't a good thing because it will leave some side effects on them when they grow up. Mental side effects. Why smacking them? Why are they smacking them when they still don't know what they are doing wrong or what they are doing? Yes, I think that might be a very good point, because children, of course, don't often know the difference between right and wrong. They have to learn over a period of time. I think you're right. Quite a few people were admiring the pizza from earlier on. Did you see the pizza? Quite a few people have been admiring the pizza. We haven't eaten the pizza yet, by the way. We haven't eaten it. It's still waiting in the freezer. I think we will eat it next week sometime. A headline has its own grammatical rules. Yes, thank you, Connell, for that. Yes, there are different types of newspaper. In fact, we could probably have a look now. So, for example, there is the tabloid newspaper. When we talk about tabloid newspaper, we talk about things that are very large, very, very bright, very colourful. When I say large, I actually mean the writing on the front of the paper tends to be very large, very colourful. Quite often, tabloid newspapers will also have lots of colour photographs. They are desperately trying to get your attention. Now, many people don't like the tabloid newspapers, whilst other people love them. In fact, it might be fair to say that here in the UK, tabloid newspapers are very popular. And then you have the broadsheet. Broadsheet newspapers. Now, these are seen as being real newspapers. These are the ones that people who are very refined, very educated, tend to read. Although nowadays that isn't always the case, because last week the Guardian newspaper decided to go tabloid style. So now the Guardian, which in the past was viewed as a broadsheet, a very respectable newspaper, has actually now become a tabloid. They have changed their design. So you have tabloid newspaper and you have broadsheet newspaper. There is a difference between the two. Having said that, it would appear that the tabloid newspaper is more popular than the broadsheet. How true that is? Well, I'm sure you will have your own opinion about that. So we're live. Oh my goodness, it's 4 minutes away from 3 o'clock. Mr. Steve will be here soon. We are talking about lots of things today, lots of hot topics. Do you ever feel lonely? Because now here in the UK we have a minister, a government minister, who has been put in charge of loneliness. That doesn't mean that she makes people feel lonely, but what she will do is talk about the actual issue, the actual problem of loneliness. As I said earlier, the population here in the UK is living longer and there are more elderly people, which means, I suppose, there are more lonely people. So I would imagine that many of the people that suffer from loneliness are also elderly. Thank you, Jewel. My grandfather was a member of the Communist Party, and he said that if the news had been true, it would not be so cheap. But it was 50 years ago. I love you. And that is from Irina from Israel. Thank you, Irina. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but some people say that nowadays you should take a lot of what is reported with a pinch of salt. A very interesting expression. So if you take something with a pinch of salt, it means you shouldn't necessarily believe it. It might not actually be true. You should take it with a pinch of salt. Just enough time to show you the mystery object. So here it is. Here is the mystery object. Now I've made it difficult because it's still inside the bag. So there it is. There is the mystery object. Can you see it? So the mystery object, there it is. It is inside a plastic bag. But what is it? Any ideas what it could be? I will show you later what it actually is. It's something quite interesting. And it is connected to my work. That's all I'm saying. If I say anything else, it will give it away, you see. We are coming up to 3 o'clock. Oh, Mr. Steve will be here soon. Is it headphones? Is the mystery object headphones? No, Tarion, it is not. Is it a USB connector? Alice says. No, it isn't. Let's put the live chat up on the screen. Headphones. No, definitely not headphones. Definitely not. Oh, I really like your t-shirt, Mr. Duncan. Thank you, Aeon Ahmed Videos. Thank you very much for that. Is it a clothes peg? Clothes peg. No, it isn't. Is it a jumping rope? Thank you, Giorgio, for that. No, it isn't. Ah, Hussein. Now, Hussein has made a very interesting guess there. I like your guess. Thermal adhesive machine. Now, Hussein, you are very close there. Very close indeed. It is not an earphone. It is not a headphone. It is not a microphone. It is not a memory stick. Sorry, Alice. But what is the mystery object? What is it? Well, I will reveal it later on. But now we have more important things to do. Don't forget, in the last half hour, maybe, I'm not sure. I'm still not sure if I want to do it, to be honest. I haven't made up my mind. I haven't decided. But Mr. Steve wants to give me a makeover. A makeover. A very interesting word. Makeover. A makeover. So you make someone look very attractive by using cosmetics. You give them a makeover. And apparently Mr. Steve thinks that I should have a makeover. Can I first of all say, before Mr. Steve arrives, a big thank you, by the way, to Catherine Foggs. Can I say thank you to Catherine Foggs, who last week sent a lovely donation to help my work continue via PayPal. Thank you very much for that. So here he comes. It's Mr. Steve. I know you've all been waiting for him to arrive. Well, don't worry. He's on his way. Do. Can you believe that we are almost coming towards the end of January? Don't forget, I will be here next week with Mr. Steve, but can I just say now, can I just warn you that during February there will be some changes to when we are on. So during February there will be some slight changes to when I am on here and when Mr. Steve is on here with me. So that coming maybe next week, I will mention that because there are some changes, but only during February, okay? Here he comes, it's Mr. Steve. Yes, there he is. Oh, hello there. Oh, it's nice to see that Steve has got in on the act.
Hi. Who am I supposed to be, Mr. Duncan? You told me to put this wig on and this red tie and a white shirt. So I guess I'm supposed to be impersonating Donald Trump.
You certainly are.
Right, because it's... Why are we doing that today? Because I've noticed you've got a wig on as well.
Well, I'm wearing my Donald Trump wig because, of course, it is a year since Donald Trump became president and leader don't forget, of the free world. Oh my goodness, and we are all still here. So I must admit, I do feel very pleased that we are still here. Yes, it was a year ago. In fact, let me just show you quickly the picture. So there I am a year ago. There is the photograph during last year's live stream on the day that Donald Trump became the president. And I did a special 3-hour live stream, and that was a year ago. But here we are today, live with Mr. Steve. So thank you very much for getting dressed up. You really do look the part. In fact, I think we should just keep these wigs. We should keep them on.
They're a bit itchy. I'm not keeping mine on for the whole show.
they look quite good though. In fact, you look so young.
What do you mean I look so young? I am so young, Mr. Duncan, as you well know. It's being on these shows that are aging me.
Now, I have to be very careful here because later on, now Mr. Steve wants to give me, well, there are many things he wants to give me, normally involving a punch in the face, but Mr. Steve wants to give me a makeover. Now, I'm not sure. I think I will leave the decision to you out there. So do you think that Mr. Steve should give me a makeover during the final half an hour of the show?
Well, you said you were going to talk about plastic surgery and cosmetic surgery. So I thought, well, you don't need that, Mr. Duncan. Just a bit of a touch of makeup here and there could enhance your fabulous features, your cheekbones, your lips, your eyebrows could be enhanced in ways other than using the surgeon's knife.
But the thing is, Steve, wait there a second. The thing is that nowadays even men like to take care of their skin and like to take care of their appearance. So even men nowadays wear makeup. Did you tell me? I'm not sure. I might be wrong here. You told me that some of your work colleagues they put like moisturizer on and things like that. They are very well groomed.
Yes, men are becoming very well groomed in England these days, and I think it's because their women are demanding it. So they don't want their men to be smelly and all their skin all pock-marked
and ugly,
and they want them to smell nice. In an ever-changing world, men are having to adapt in order to attract a mate. Let's put it this way.
Attract a mate. This sounds like you're talking about. This sounds like a National Geographic program.
Actually, something very interesting today, because there's a lot of discussion about women's rights at the moment, and it was interesting what one woman was commenting, that men expect their women to be beautiful all through their married life, to keep a slim figure, to have their hair done all the time, makeup. And yet the man can become a complete slob, have a great big beer gut.
I love that word.
Grow a beard.
I love that word, slob.
And the woman's just supposed to put up with it. Well, not anymore. Women aren't putting up with it anymore.
So women are now.
Why should they?
Women are demanding that their men also look attractive, because I know that women go to a lot of trouble. That women do all sorts of things to look beautiful. They take their eyebrows off and then they draw them back on, and that sounds very painful, having your eyebrows removed just so you can paint them back on your face. So I think women go to a lot of trouble to look good for their men. And the other one that I've never tried this, but I know that lots of women do it. They remove the hair from their legs, and they use a special method called waxing. And I've seen it done. I've never had it done myself, but oh my goodness!
Presumably because their men demand nice smooth legs.
But it looks so painful. They melt wax onto the skin, and then they pull the wax off, and when the wax comes off, it also pulls the hair as well.
I don't think it's probably, I don't know, maybe some women out there watching now have had this waxing done. Is it painful? I would imagine it's probably not as painful as if a man had it done to his legs.
And even men.
The hair is much coarser.
Yes, and men, of course, some men have their chest waxed. So they have
they?
I've
never heard of that.
What about you, Steve?
Oh no, mine's mine. I'm like a bear under here.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Because nowadays many men feel very ashamed of their body hair. They don't mind hair on their face because the beard has become very trendy and very popular. But men don't like body hair. I think a lot of men don't like to have hairy chests, and they wax the hair on their chest.
Some do. I think it all depends on the relationship you're in, and whether the man is prepared to see. A lot of men have the attitude that whatever happens, that's natural and I ain't going to change it. Let's face it, it's a lot of maintenance to keep yourself looking attractive. Takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. Most men can't be bothered with that.
The human body actually is a very high maintenance machine.
It's very well, it is if you want to stay looking attractive.
especially when dare I say, especially when you get older.
Yes, needs more and more maintenance, just like an old car or an old house. It's got to be well maintained if it's to remain looking attractive. Growing old gracefully, I think, is the trick behind that.
But of course, nowadays you have to dress to impress. Image has become a very important thing. In fact, I made a lesson on my YouTube channel all about image and how important it is to stay looking young or looking trendy or smart. Not everyone. I don't think I'm a trendy person. Some of my clothing is so old. In fact, I can show you something here. This is a very old tie. Now, this is a tie that I wore during the 1990s, and sometimes I still wear it now. So there it is. There is one of my very old ties.
I think this is one of my father's old ties.
Oh, that's nice.
It's by a company called Hepworth. Hepworths.
I remember Hepworths.
Which I think has been closed for about 40 years.
I remember Hepworths.
There we go.
Hepworths were like it was a department store, but if I remember rightly, because it was many years ago, it was like a department store, but everything in there was quite cheap.
Was it? I thought it was sort of middle of the road.
Oh, okay then. So it wasn't too cheap, too dear. It wasn't too expensive, and it wasn't too cheap. Okay.
No,
then.
I think it was
wow,
reasonably upmarket. Anyway, I was going to say, with this wig on, because I'm dying to take it off. It's very itchy. I can't stay for the next 3/4 of an hour with this on.
No, leave it on. It looks great.
So, how old do I look now? Do people think? Be generous.
You are really, really taking a risk. Never ask people. Steve, you are really showing how naive you are.
So with the wig, what age would you say?
No, don't ask people on the internet to tell you how old you look, because it's a big mistake.
And what about now?
Oh my!
If I take it off, do I look younger or older?
I need to turn the lights down. It's reflecting. It's
got a bit bright in here. Oh.
It's really reflecting off your head.
Oh, you see, I have to keep this dome very smooth.
Oh, actually.
So that's it. Before and after. Do I look younger or older?
Apparently, according to Bella says Mr. Steve looks like he is 30.
30 with it on.
Hamster says Mr. Steve looks like he is 35. Oh dear.
That's not well. Is that with or with? Oh, so with it on, it must be 35 with it on. I could live with that.
Oh, here we go. Don, I told you not to do this. Don Gardinio says you look 666 years old. You see?
Well, if I could live that long, I'd obviously have the cure for aging.
You'll be older than Donald Trump. Did you see last week? His doctor said that Donald Trump will probably live until he's 200.
Well, he's got the money, so if the miracle cure comes along for aging, he'll have the money to pay for it.
Has anyone ever lived to 200 years old? No,
Don't think so.
they haven't. No one. I think the oldest person who's ever lived about 115, 116 years old.
Something like that.
I
don't
think
know
so, yes.
exactly.
Yes.
But
yes.
yeah. So what do you think? Should I keep it on? Ask people. Should I keep it on or keep it off?
Just
put
keep-
it on or keep it off.
Just keep the wig on.
It's very annoying, Mr. Duncan.
Look, I'm itching here. This thing really does itch. My head is on fire. It's horrible. So I've got a wig and a hat. So imagine what I'm going through at the moment.
It's not going to go very well with the Shakespeare speech later on.
So someone says you look. Someone has guessed your age, but they've actually guessed your age, and it is your age.
Is that with or without the wig?
I think it might be both.
Right, it's going back on. There we go.
You're not fooling anyone.
There we go.
Martha says you must keep the wig on.
Oh, all right then. Now, I don't know. Is that right? Have I got it on right? I can't tell now. Took me half an hour to put this on earlier.
Actually, that looks better. That looks better. You look like a mad scientist.
Do I?
Oh, yeah, I tell you who you look like. You look like Mo. Is it Mo from the Three Stooges?
Don't know that one.
These references that I'm coming out with today are terrible.
How old are you?
You
80?
mentioned a long since gone clothes store, and I've mentioned a long since gone comedy trio.
There's no moths on this fly yet, so it's doing very well.
There's no moths where?
There's no moth holes in the tie.
Oh,
Because when you've had clothes lying around in cupboards for many years, sometimes the moths get at it, don't they, and eat away. Well, the larvae of the moth eats away your clothes.
you know what? Can I just say something here? I think moths are not real. I think they don't really do what people say, because I've never seen clothing that has been eaten by moths.
I've got a coat upstairs. It's got this beautiful coat. It cost me a lot of money.
Yeah.
An overcoat, double-breasted overcoat that goes over your suit, very warm, made of pure wool.
Okay.
Cost me about I would say about £160 many years ago. Hardly ever use it, and I got it out about a year ago, and it's been eaten by moths on the collar,
Oh, okay.
so it's ruined.
You'll have to show us next week,
Yes.
because I've never had anything ruined. I'm
Once
a bit of a moth skeptic.
Oh no, they do exist. Once you've got them, it's difficult to get rid of them. Moths eat. Well, it's not the moths. They lay eggs on your clothes, and the larvae hatch out. And I think it's the larvae that eat your clothes. So if we're ever stuck here in the snow, and we've got no food in the house, obviously there is nutrition in clothes. So
Yes,
maybe we can just sort of eat a hat or something.
Yes,
or
that might come in
trousers.
handy if you are ever short of food, because apparently moths can eat clothes. So maybe you can just have a little chew on one of your shoes,
Well, there's something we didn't think we'd talk about today.
or nibble one of your hats.
Yeah, well, that's an expression, isn't it? If you say, I'll eat my hat. If give me an example, Mr. Duncan. I'm
Oh,
struggling
here's a good
here.
one. Here's a good one. There was a famous MP, a famous member of Parliament, who said that if people voted to leave Europe, if people voted for Brexit, that he would eat his hat.
That's it. So people often use that expression when they are fairly certain that the statement they are making is true. And so there would be no chance of them ever possibly having to carry out this act, i.e. eating the hat. But people often say that, don't they? So if such and such and such happens, I'll eat my hat.
Okay.
And they're fairly certain that thing won't happen. But sometimes it does, and they look foolish.
Yes, and I think also the same thing happened with Donald Trump. I think someone was saying last year, or should I say before the election results were announced, that they said that if Donald Trump became the president, he would eat his hat. So it's something that you are saying you would do because you are so sure that it won't happen.
Yes. But of
That's
course, life is life, and sometimes unpredictable things happen.
Oh, it's been a crazy, crazy time. In fact, the craziness is continuing into 2018 because yesterday, of course, the United States have closed all of their government departments down. They're shut. They're completely closed. So now the United States is completely shut. It's closed down.
No public services. You can't visit the zoo. You can't visit museums.
You can't go to the Statue of Liberty. If you've planned a lovely day trip to the Statue of Liberty, it is closed.
Closed. If you're on holiday now in America, stay in your hotels. No point in going anywhere.
Tomek says, I will eat my hat if Mr. Duncan reads out my post from the comment box. Well,
Oh.
Well, Tomek, that's it. You now have to eat your hat. I need proof of that, please. I need to see at least one hat with teeth marks.
Yes, you've got to be fair. When you make that expression, you've got to be fairly certain, virtually 100% confident that what you're saying you really believe will never happen.
You have to be very certain before you offer to eat your hat. Anyway, Mr. Steve.
Yes.
You had me. some drama.
Yes, I did. I'm taking this off, sorry. Oh, that's better. Oh, I can breathe. It's so hot in this studio.
I think people are used to seeing you without the wig, so I don't think there will be any surprises. But during the week, you had a very big surprise, didn't you? Something very dramatic happened.
A real-life drama. It wasn't amateur dramatics. It was real-life drama. I was driving along the road, just not far from home, in fact, doing about 60 miles an hour. What's that, about 75 kilometres per hour, something like that?
I don't know.
Along this dual carriageway, and suddenly I heard, well, I felt, I didn't hear it, something happened at the back of the car, and suddenly the car was all over the road. There was this loud noise. It sounded like the exhaust had dropped off, and then all these warning symbols flashed up on the dashboard saying tyre pressure warning. So the car was leaning over. It was veering around the road. It was quite dangerous. I had a tyre blowout.
A blowout?
A blowout is what we call when the tyre, instead of slowly deflating, it's rapidly deflates due to a failure in the tyre, a catastrophic failure in the tyre itself, and all the air rushes out, and suddenly you get a blowout, and it can be very dangerous. But luckily, I was only travelling relatively slowly, and I was able to pull over. In fact, there was a garage half a mile down the road, so I pulled over very slowly, put my hazard lights on. By the time I got there, though, the tyre was smoking because it had been completely flat. The rubber was burning on the rim of the tyre, the rim of the wheel itself, and it's full of holes. So I don't know what happened there. I think because, and I had to change the tyre before I came home, jack the car up.
Jack.
And
so you had to. What does that mean? If you jack something, it means you raise it. You
raise
lift
it up. I had to get the jack. I've had this car 8 years, and I've never had a puncture once that has involved me having to change the tyre. They've always been slow punctures, like with a nail or a screw in there, and it's only going down over a few days, so you can go to a garage and get it repaired. But
so the tyre can go down very slowly.
A slow deflation. That's it.
That is a puncture. We normally call it a slow puncture.
That's most car tyre issues like that are slow punctures.
Slow.
This was a blowout, which if it happens on, this was on the rear tyre, which is not so dangerous. If it happens on the front tyre, where you've got your steering control and you're doing a high speed on the motorway, it can be very, very dangerous. But I was very lucky, so I changed the tyre and I've had it replaced with a new one. But interestingly enough, this shouldn't happen. So I think because we've had so much bad weather and a lot of frost and snow, as we've been talking about over several weeks, the roads are now full of these deep potholes. So the tarmac has been eroded away. So we've got big potholes.
The what? Sorry.
Potholes.
The tarmac has been eroded
By the frost. And so now you're travelling along and suddenly, bang, your car goes into this big pothole, and that damages the tyre. And it doesn't always go down straight away. It's probably damaged it, but then it's not quite enough for it to puncture. And then you're driving along, then one day, bang, it just goes.
We're just actually looking, Steve, we're looking at some photographs now of the actual tyre.
Yes.
So look at that. I mean, look at that. It's so dramatic. The tyre has actually exploded.
See, a lot of that damage, there would have been one of those holes would have been the original blowout, but the others were caused by the damage when I had to drive for nearly a mile with it completely flat, and that of course means it rubs against the wheel of the tyre itself and has caused all that extra damage. Look at that. I was very lucky. Don't tell my mother, she'll be worried about me going out on the road.
No, don't anyone, please don't tell Mr. Steve's mother.
I've never had that ever happen before. But I went into I've been crashed over a lot of bad potholes recently, and because they haven't been repaired by the local authorities because they've all appeared so quickly.
Yes, of course, a pothole is a large hole that forms in the road, and at the moment we have a big problem here in the UK with potholes.
We do, because the councils are running out of money and they can't afford to repair them.
And of course, if you drive over it with your car, the wheel or the tyre can be very badly damaged. Now, one or two people are asking, was it scary? What did you feel afraid, Steve?
Well, I didn't at the time. You sort of when something like that happens, you sort of certain sort of things take over and you automatically do things. I was aware that there were lots of cars around me, and it was very wet. And I thought the car seems to be not responding very well. And then I heard this noise, and then all these warning lights flashed up on the dashboard. So I thought the exhaust had dropped off. It was anyway safe and sound. If I'd been on the motorway doing a higher speed, I think it would have been a lot more worrying, because I'd have had to pull over onto the hard shoulder of the motorway, the hard shoulder where we pull over if we've broken down, the safe area. But of course it's not that safe, because lots of people get killed on the hard shoulder of the motorway every year by lorries ploughing into the back of them.
So the hard shoulder is normally on the side of the motorway, so that's where you can get refuge if you get into difficulty. If your car breaks down or if you have a mechanical problem, you can go to the side of the motorway.
The side of the motorway. It's a lane where the traffic is not allowed to normally travel in. But it's a very dangerous place to be, so I don't think you're supposed to get out of your car now. They advise you never to stay in your car on the hard shoulder.
Because if you sit in the car or stand by the car and another car hits the park's car, the person standing nearby or in the car will obviously be badly injured or killed.
Yes, advice now, do not stay in your car if you break down on the hard shoulder.
Look at that. We're just looking again. That is very dramatic. The tyre has actually split, and you can see what's happened here. So because the tyre has exploded, Mr. Steve, of course, was driving the car at the time, but the weight of the car has actually destroyed the tyre even more. So
yes,
the tyre burst, and then Mr. Steve was still driving the car, and the tyre has just been completely destroyed. Look at that. That is so... I must admit, when I saw what had happened to that tyre, I was quite upset. I was genuinely upset when I saw it, because I couldn't believe it.
Could have been a lot worse, so I was lucky.
You see that in movies. You always see that in movies. If someone is trying to stop a car, they will fire a gun at the tyre, and then the tyre will explode, and then
I think people understand what happened. But yes, so I was lucky, as I've said. So Check your car tyre. I did go over a really bad pothole about 3 weeks ago. That was a brand new tyre, by the way, because I'd had 2 new tyres put on the back of the car before Christmas. So it was a new tyre, so there was nothing wrong with it. So it must have got damaged in a pothole, or one of these sleeping policemen that we've got lots of those now on the road.
What's a sleeping policeman?
It's a speeding. It's designed to stop people speeding along certain roads, which could be dangerous. There might be schools nearby or a residential area, and it's probably a nice straight road, and it might be in a town. Well, they're always in a town, a 30-mile-an-hour limit, but people commonly go much faster than that. So the residents complain.
Yes.
And they put these big humps in the road, but of course they damage your tyres as well.
So part of the road is raised slightly.
Raised,
and that then encourages the cars to slow down.
It does, typically near schools or residential areas. Usually if somebody's been injured or killed, they'll put them on that road then.
But of course they're everywhere now.
They're everywhere. So
even you sometimes complain, Mr. Steve. You complain about these. You say, I hate going through these small villages because many of them now have little humps, little bumps, and some people call them sleeping policemen, which is a very interesting phrase indeed.
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of people have heard that today for the first time. I bet they've never heard that before.
Sleeping policeman, yes. And yes, I agree that traffic, it's a traffic calming method,
yes,
as it's called. But if the speed limit's 30, you can't go 30 over them because your car would take off.
Yeah.
So you're actually forced to reduce your speed down to about 10 or 15 miles an hour.
Yes, and of course you'll damage the car.
Yes, you damage the car, and you can damage the... See, I went over some bad potholes recently, but I checked the tyres at the front of the car, not realising that probably the one at the back had been damaged. So I checked all around, looked on the inside for bulges on the side walls of the tyre, but there weren't any. But I didn't check the back one, so obviously that one was damaged.
So the tyre that exploded was actually one of the rear tyres at the back?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So there is something to make sure of. If you go over a pothole or a big obstacle in the road, always check your tyres afterwards to make sure that there is no damage. But you've got it repaired now?
No, I've got a new tyre on there now. You can't repair that.
No, well, that's what not...
I thought maybe you can sew those holes back up.
That's not what I meant. I didn't think they could repair the tyre, for goodness sake. What? How would they do it? Would they get a needle and thread and stitch it back together? Yes. So I think you've got it all repaired, so your car is okay.
Back to normal.
No permanent damage.
No damage done. I was about an hour late getting home, but luckily I was quite... Anyway, we're going on. This story must be getting very boring.
No, it's fascinating. We're just all pleased to see that you survived.
I did. Yeah, so am I.
Everyone is shocked.
Oh. I've never had one. I've probably been driving for, well over 30 years. I've never had that happen. And I do a lot of mileage. I do about 25,000 miles a year. So I've never had anything like that happen before. So there you go. First time for everything, as they say.
I'm going to say something now. Well, first of all, we have the mystery object. Here it is. What is this?
I know what it is.
Does anyone know? Well, I know you know.
Because in fact, that was quite strange, because I picked this up and said, "Oh, what's that, Mr. Duncan?" Because I didn't know.
And I said,
"Oh, that'll be..."
I said it's a mystery object.
And then you said, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Steve. I'll have that as my mystery object in today's live English show."
So Steve helped me to plan today's live stream, and Mr. Steve wants to give me a makeover. I think we'll do that in a little while. But now, to be or not to be? That is the question. Shakespeare on Sunday, of course. Are you ready, Mr. Steve?
I'm ready.
Shakespeare on Sunday with Mr. Steve.
Right, let's see how this one goes. This one is from the Shakespeare play Julius Caesar. which is a play about historical events that occurred in the Roman Empire. Shakespeare wrote a few plays which were based on historical facts. Well, probably some of it was facts. The action, we don't know the exact words, of course, that were said, but obviously they weren't recorded. But based on historical events, he wrote plays, and this one was about the famous Roman Emperor Julius Caesar, who, of course, as we all know, comes to a sticky end. He is stabbed to death by fellow politicians, I think you would say, who are some of which are plotting his demise, his death, because they think he's going to become a dictator and cause bad things to happen. But his friend in this particular play, his friend Mark Antony, finds Caesar's body and is furious and wants revenge on the plotters who killed him. And so he makes a little soliloquy, a little speech designed to talk about his feelings about how he wants to incite the people of Italy to rise up against these plotters and take revenge against the people who killed Caesar. So this is what he says. This isn't all of the speech, it's just some of it. Domestic fury and civil strife shall cumber all the parts of Italy. Blood and destruction shall be so in use, and dreadful objects so familiar, that mothers shall but smile when they behold their infants courted with the hands of war. All pity choked with custom of fell deeds, and Caesar's spirit, ranging for revenge, with Arte by his side, come hot from hell, shall in these confines with a monarch's voice cry, Havoc! And let slip the dogs of war, that this foul deed shall smell above the earth, with carrion men groaning for burial.
Wow.
I'm all overcome with emotion.
I wasn't sure if you were going to have a stroke then.
Oh, I was getting a bit carried away there, Mr. Duncan. I'm all hot and bothered.
Do you want to
should play a clip while I recover.
Do you want to loosen your tie?
Whew, yes. I'm glad I didn't have that wig on. Oh, well, there we go. That's it. We've got some new words in there.
I'm a bit shaken myself.
Shall we start with havoc? There's a good word.
Wait there a sec. So today's Shakespeare on Sunday. What was the play again? Julius Caesar.
Julius Caesar, famous Roman emperor, as I was said, who was killed, murdered by a plot by fellow politicians at the time. And his friend Mark Antony was very upset about it and wanted to incite the populace to rise up and take revenge, which I believe they did.
That's it, yes. There's the famous scene where everyone stabs. They stab Caesar in the back.
The famous Carry On film.
Is that a knife I see?
A dagger.
A dagger. There you go. See that, Mr. Steve corrected me then.
Of course, the best one is the Carry On film with.
Steve, please don't make references to things that no one watching at the moment will understand, because then we have to spend 20 minutes explaining the reference.
Right.
And then by the time we've got the reference explained, it's time to go. So, let's not talk about that, shall we? Let's leave all of that. Let's put it over there. Let's put a pin in that and talk about something else, which of course is something we've been talking about today. Newspapers. Do you ever read the newspaper, Steve?
So you want to talk about some of the interesting words that crop up in this particular speech?
Okay, then one or two, no problem.
How about havoc?
Havoc.
Widespread destruction. Devastation, disaster, confusion, lack of order. Havoc. the hurricane ripped through Florida and caused havoc. There's so much. The snow on the motorway caused havoc for drivers. So that means, yes, everything is not as it should be. Order has gone, and that's what this speech is about, really. Havoc. So and what can happen when war starts.
You can cause havoc.
You can cause havoc. I could come in here and knock over all your tripods.
Don't you? Wait, that's what you normally do, isn't it?
Because there are so many in here. It's a trip hazard from hell. And I could walk through here. I could knock all the tripods over. The lights would go everywhere. The cameras would go everywhere. And I would cause havoc in what is usually a very well-ordered studio.
Yes. I like to keep everything very well organised in here. And then when Steve walks into the studio, everything starts falling over because he lumbers around and knocks things over. And I have to say, Steve, for goodness sake, be careful. Be careful. Don't break my studio equipment, please.
If anyone wants me to explain anything in that speech, please let us know. and I will when I've recovered. Oh,
I know. I'm still reeling. I'm reeling from Mr. Steve's rendition.
I haven't blown your microphone.
That was incredible. I think you might have blown it, but I'm not sure.
Yes.
Fortunately, we have very professional compression on the microphone, so I think we should be all right. And also, I was turning the microphone volume down just to make sure that we didn't blow people's ears off, because some people listen to us with headphones. So I hope that you haven't made too many people deaf today.
Interesting enough, I was reading about the play Julius Caesar, and a lot of the theme of it is about, which is an interesting thought that many of us have, showing how Shakespeare often talks about the many varied human emotions and human behaviour. Is what is the? Are we when we go through our lives? Is it fate that decides what happens, or do we have control over our own lives, the decisions that we make? And that largely is about what that play is, a central theme to that play, because Caesar gets lots of warnings all the time about what might happen to him, but he ignores them all and ends up being murdered.
There is, of course, the famous line, "Beware the Ides of March."
Yes, that's it. So obviously these aren't real. They're sort of fictitious, sort of not really believable signs, but and the whole play comes to the conclusion really that, well, the central theme is that really there's a bit of a balance in life about fate, because there are some things that obviously we cannot control and we have no control over. So it's a balance between that and the things that we do have control over and can make decisions about. So which I think is very interesting, because some people go through that. I know people who are fatalists. That's what they call themselves. They just, what will happen, what will be will be. So they think everything's predetermined, and their lives will pan out according to a particular pattern, no matter what they do.
So even if they try to change things, they believe that if bad things are going to happen, they will happen anyway.
Yes, some people think that some people think if you had a car crash, if you spilt some milk, if you fell off your chair, if anything happened, that was meant to happen. Some people actually believe that, whereas other people take the opinion that they can control everything. That's the other extreme.
I think we all have control over our destiny, but sometimes things do occur.
Yes.
That actually steer our life in a certain direction, but the actual outcome isn't decided. So it's actually up to you what happens. So the circumstance comes along, and how you react to it is actually what changes your destiny.
It's interesting to see what people think of this concept of fate versus your own control over your destiny. I mean, things like the weather. You can't control the weather. Nobody can control the weather. But if you didn't listen to the weather forecast, you might end up being stuck outside in a hurricane. So you have control over where you'd be when that thing happened. Of course, sometimes you're driving along. I mean, a car accident's a classic thing. You might be just driving along, then suddenly out of the blue, someone hits you.
Yes,
so you've got no control over that at all.
Or one of your tyres bursts.
Yes, of course, you could choose, and a lot of people do, to drive around in a giant, great 4x4, so it doesn't matter what hits them, and they'll always be safe.
I can see what I've done here. I've made the mistake. I've made the mistake of talking to Steve about cars, because it would appear that almost 60% of what we've talked about in this hour has been car related. So if you have no interest in cars, I do apologise. But in a moment we are going to do something very different and very special, because I can see Steve getting excited already. We are going to do a live makeover. Mr. Steve is going to make me look beautiful.
Of course, my many years expertise in the Amateur Dramatic Society, I know how to make somebody look attractive for the stage.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. So here comes a lesson. It is one of my full English lessons, and during that lesson we will prepare for the live makeover. Yes, Mr. Steve is going to give me a makeover. So,
all my makeup down there.
We'll see you in a few moments.
Okay.
Can you see what I have here? This is a plug. It forms part of many electrical devices and safely allows electricity to travel from the mains outlet to the device in question. You plug this into the mains outlet or socket. The verb for this action is also plug. You plug it in. I forgot to plug the TV in. You need to plug it in before it will work. To take the plug out is unplug. You unplug something. Don't forget to unplug the TV before you come to bed. You will have to unplug the washing machine before moving it. To plug is to connect, and to unplug is to disconnect. The word plug can also be something used to block a hole. It can be a noun or verb. I'm going to plug the hole. The word plug can also mean to informally mention something as a way of advertising it to others. I will be on the radio today to plug my new book. Could you plug my new song on your show? In these sentences, the word plug means to casually mention something so as to promote it. Do you want to know what I'm doing here? I am about to change a light bulb. The bulb inside this light fitting has blown. It has burned itself out. It has come to the end of its life. It is no longer working. The bulb has gone. In this sense, the word gone means expired. The bulb is dead. So I will now replace the blown one with one that works. First, I need to make sure that the electricity is turned off, so I don't electrocute myself, because that would really spoil my day and make this lesson very short. Have you noticed how many types of light fittings there are nowadays? Some push in, some screw in, and as for their shapes, some bulbs are spherical, some bulbs are curly, and some are straight and long. We measure the light output of bulbs in watts. This particular bulb is 40 watts. It is a 40-watt bulb. OK, it's time to change that light bulb. I must unscrew the bulb carefully so as not to break it.
That's strange. Somebody's turned the power supply to the lights off.
First, I need to make sure that the electricity is turned off. OK. The electricity is turned off. OK. So I don't electrocute myself. Electrocute myself. Electrocute myself.
I think I will turn that back on.
And you thought you were having a bad day.
Mr. Lomax!
What's that? It sounds like Mr. Duncan's in trouble. I'm coming, Mr. Duncan.
Mummy, read me a bedtime story. You promised me, you said you would. You promised me if I was good, read me a story. Mummy.
Mr. Duncan, are you all right?
Wait a minute. When I was standing up there, I had different clothes on. I was wearing a grey tank top over a purple shirt. Now I'm wearing a black jumper. Oh, I know what's happened. There has been some bad continuity. The clothes I wore in the previous shots do not match the ones I'm wearing now. They have changed. This is bad continuity. The flow of this sequence has been broken by this mistake. You sometimes see bad continuity in TV shows and movies. This is mainly caused by the fact that each shot is done at different times or in completely different places. So sometimes it is possible for them not to match. Continuity errors can be seen in all types of productions, from the low-budget movie right up to the multi-million-dollar blockbuster. Oh, it's finished. Oh my goodness, we were so distracted there. Oh my goodness. So there it was, Full English 21. Lots of useful things in there. And of course, Mr. Lomax electrocuted me. Can you believe it? Thank you, Steve, for noticing that the Full English lesson had finished. I haven't had the makeover yet, for those who are wondering, but I'm going to have it right now. So here we go. Here he comes, Mr. Steve, the beauty expert, apparently. Beauty expert. So I'm now going to go over to where Mr. Steve is standing.
You come over here, Mr. Duncan, sit in the hot seat and prepare to be made beautiful.
or thereabouts. So here we go. I now have to go across to the chair, and Mr. Steve is going to give me a makeover. What have I done?
Hurry up, Mr. Duncan. We've only got 5 minutes before the end of the show.
Okay. I'm coming. So here we go. So this is Mr. Duncan before.
And now, let's just
Bye.
turn you round. And I have my palette of makeup and wonderment. Shall I take that from you, Mr.
I'm taking my
Duncan?
glasses off.
Right.
I'll just put those there. I don't trust you.
Oh, he wants to do it all himself. Right, let's get going because we haven't got long.
Don't forget to project a bit.
Right, let's start with a bit of this. Yes. I have, of course, have many years of expertise in the makeup
You don't have to stoop,
business.
You don't have to stoop down.
Well, I do because I can't reach your face otherwise. My arms aren't that long. There we go. So a little bit of foundation just to take out all the age creases. Of course, I need more than usual on this particular subject because of the sun damage that is evident from what I'm looking at here. Right.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right, so no, we need something to brighten up your cheeks here. Yes, that looks a little better. You need some colour, anything to take away the age that is apparent everywhere. I've never been so close to you as this. It's quite obvious.
Yes.
That I don't know whether I can actually fix what I'm seeing here.
All I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing?
Stop talking.
No, not lipstick.
No, well, it all helps to just enhance your natural beauty, Mr. Duncan, which is apparent. It's a long while since I've been this close to you, I've got to say. Right, now, the eyes, they need something. They drastically need something.
I don't think anyone
So,
can hear you, by the way.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping they can. Right, so where are we going now with this? We're going for a bit of something to enhance the eyebrows. Yes, because they've dulled with time. The greyness has set in, and therefore we need to enhance these particular parts of your face. Right now, eyeshadow is vitally important for anyone trying to look good on a stage or even in real life. You need lots of nice eye makeup. As we all know, looks like I'm not taking much care here, but of course I'm taking a lot more care. Imagine you've got to be on stage, you're in between scenes, and you're on in 5 minutes. So we've got to do a quick, rapid makeover of you here, which is what we're doing. Now the eyes need a little bit more, but I think you're nearly ready now for the great reveal, which is to show your audience the level of professionalism which I have managed to acquire over many years. Just open your eyes a minute. Yes? Well. Right. Well, I think I'll just go to another part of the country. I'm going to get in the car and
no-
drive off.
No one
and,
could hear what you're saying because you're nowhere near the microphone.
I think they can hear me. I'm projecting. Are we ready? Are we ready to see the makeover?
No, you need to talk into there.
That is Mr. Duncan.
That's the
He's
microphone.
obsessed
That isn't the microphone.
with the microphone.
That's the microphone.
They can hear us.
They can't hear you.
Right. Are you ready?
No, I'm going to need my glasses.
Oh.
You're useless. This is
Put
better.
these on.
This better look good.
It does. Are we ready?
So here we go. I've had my makeover.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Et voila!
Oh my! What have you done to me?
You're beautiful. You look wonderful, Mr. Duncan.
What have you done to me?
What? I've charged £20 an hour, you know, for this kind of work. Nobody can see you from the stage.
What have you done to? I look ridiculous.
Well, yeah, but when the lights are on you from a distance, everyone will think you look perfectly all right.
So you mean when I go back over there, I will look okay?
Oh, absolutely. You'll look. Yes, over you go, Mr. Duncan. Back to your chair. Wrap up the show, and we'll look to see if there's any comments, or even if anyone's been able to hear anything we've been saying for the last 5 minutes.
I have a strange feeling no one could hear anything we did there. What have you done to me?
Nothing. Just a little bit of enhancement, a few touch-ups here and there, just to make you look more presentable to your viewers, Mr. Duncan. That's all I've done. You asked me to do it, and that's just what you get.
Oh no!
We're still on.
I'm not sure. What? What have you done to me? This can't be right. I don't think the lights are helping, really. I think we need to switch the lights off. No, this isn't right. I look dreadful.
Any comments come through yet? I'm looking for bookings.
I don't think I look better.
I'm looking for bookings. Anyone want me to give them a makeover?
Well, some of the comments are, "Oh, you look like a clown." I'm not sure that was what I was looking for. You look astonishing. You look like a clown. That's very funny. It's not supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be a makeover. It's supposed to make me look sexy and lovely.
Well, you'll just have to go for plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery, Mr. Duncan.
I think so. I just love the way Steve's still not speaking into the microphone.
Well, it's all the way up here now.
Oh, steady.
I'll have to shout.
Yes, maybe you will. I think we can hear you now. Oh, I still can't get over this. I'm very sorry if you've just tuned in. It's okay. It's okay. Please don't adjust your computers because you're not qualified. Oh, by the way, we have our mystery object. Our mystery object. Apparently, I look more like Donald Trump than I did before. Thank you very much for that. That's very kind of you. So let's open the mystery object. What was in the mystery object bag? Now this, I love the way Steve is actually playing with the microphone while it's working. You do realise that may have been the worst sound ever. Oh my goodness.
Oh, Mr. Duncan, you worry too much about things.
I'm going to have to give Mr. Steve a course in how to behave in a live studio. So here it is. This is the actual mystery idiom. Does anyone know what it is? Now, this is something that you use when you are working inside a computer.
What, you mean you can get inside just a big computer you've got, Mr. Duncan?
If you're working inside a computer, yes, you can work inside a computer, not physically. I don't shrink to a very small size and then go inside the computer. But you have to have this on your wrist, and then you have to connect this to an earth point to stop the static electricity from damaging your computer. That's the reason why we do it. So I'm trying to put it on, but I haven't actually used it yet.
Make sure. Shall I plug it in for you, Mr. Duncan?
I'm sure you would love to plug it in.
I'll plug it into the live socket.
I'm sure you will. I think Mr. Steve is trying to electrocute myself, just like Mr. Lomax did in that full English lesson. So that is to stop the static electricity from damaging your computer. Now, the reason why I've bought this is because my computer is not feeling very well at the moment. My poor computer has some problems. So at the moment, I'm in the process of thinking about what to do with my computer because it does have some problems, unfortunately. It's not very nice, really. So that's the mystery object. It is a static wristband. It stops static electricity from damaging your computer when you are working on the inside of it. Oh,
well,
yes,
there we
and
go.
Of course we have the mystery idioms. Very quickly, here are the mystery idioms. The first mystery idiom, a lot of people got this right, sit on the fence. It means to avoid making a decision or choice. For example, to remain ambiguous and refuse to make a particular or take a particular side. You do not wish to give an opinion. You avoid making a choice. You decide to sit on the fence. And the second mystery idiom, many people got this right, so well done. The second mystery idiom, talking to a brick wall. Talking to a brick wall. This means to use, this is used to express the feeling of not being listened to. You feel as if you are wasting your time talking to someone. You might say that you feel as if you are talking to a brick wall. So there they are. Today's mystery idioms. I have a strange feeling that I won't be having any makeup on my face next week. I will be back, by the way. Mr. Steve will also be back, won't you, Steve?
I will indeed, assuming that we can get that makeup off you and you're not angry at me for making you look pretty stupid. Because, of course, I'm sure people realised I was going to do that all along.
I think people thought that, yes.
I'm anything but an expert in makeup.
Well, you can say that I found out the hard way.
There's another expression.
What a way to end.
Is it time for me to go now, Mr. Duncan?
What a way to end the live stream.
What time is it?
It is now 5 minutes, just after 5 minutes.
We've run over.
Past 4. Yes, we've gone over time as usual. I will see you next week, Mr. Steve.
Bye-bye all. And good luck with your English this week. And see you all next week.
Thanks, Mr. Steve. And there he goes. Mr. Steve is now leaving the building. And for those who missed it, for those who missed my makeover, you can watch the whole live stream again later on for those who really do want to see how this was created. See you next week. It's Mr. Duncan in England saying thanks for watching me today. Thank you very much to everyone who has joined in today. Thank you so much. So many people on the live chat. Let's have one last look at the live chat before we go. Bye bye to everyone. Bye Julie. Bye Bella. Bye Martha. Bye to Hamster. I really did enjoy this live stream. Thank you very much. Thank you Tetsuya, Maria, Belarusia and Julia, and finally Marta and Heine. Thank you very much for joining us today. I must admit, I actually have some of the makeup has gone into my eyes. So my eyes now are actually really painful. So thank you very much, Mr. Steve. I think you may have blinded me. I will see you next week. And of course, you know what's coming next. You know what's coming next. Of course, we all know what's coming next. Until next week, ta-ta for now.